But me, being the me that I've always been, I was dead set on moving forward with my home birth. I don't care what nobody had to say. How dare they tell me what I can and cannot do, you know? There was an element of fear there. I did have fear that was in the background of my mind. And so late at night when it was time to sleep, I dwelt there. I thought about the what ifs. I thought about my friend who died with the same exact date of birth. I thought about my friend who gave birth to her rainbow baby and almost died in her home. I thought about my midwife whose daughter passed away. I thought about my doula whose housing situation jeopardized her own safety in the birth of her own child, but I pushed on anyway. You see, I had to make this happen. I can't keep letting life stop me from doing what it is that I want to do. This was my vindication. This was me showing that despite any obstacle, I can push through and overcome, surely. But then that little piece of fear kept saying, but what if you die? And that was the mindset I had throughout my labor and delivery. In the midst of all this, I hired several new team members after letting go of the few that jeopardized my business. And the new team members I believed were well capable of maintaining the office during my maternity leave. So I was excited that I was finally able to take a step away from the office and focus on what mattered most to me, which was my family. And so my last day was the Friday before MLK, and I ended up going to the office in 2022 MLK Day just to stop by and say hi. And I ended up going home, and everything seemed to be going well, so I was very excited. My due date wasn't until February 14th. However, my previous birth I delivered at 36 weeks and 5 days. As I worked up to my delivery date, my water broke prematurely. So as a precaution, you know, I was heavily advised to just kind of stay near home since my office was more than 40 miles from my place of residence. And so I took heed. I stopped working and I stayed home. And a lot happened after that. So essentially, I ended up having my baby shower that following weekend, and everything seemed to be going well, except that the employee showed up to my baby shower without being invited. And I didn't think anything of it, but this is key in my mindset during psychosis. I didn't think anything of it at the time. When you fast forward to January 29th, I let go of the employee who showed up to my baby shower, not because of that, but because she continuously created strife and arguments and disagreements in the office. She was very neurotic and wanted things to be her way, because she was very insistent, kind of almost obsessive. She would call my phone late night just telling me that she's so glad to work for me, or, you know, wanting to hang out. Just different things that, you know, sent red flags, but I didn't, you know, pay too much attention to them because I was like, oh, I'm going on maternity leave in a few weeks. I could just push through it. Not my problem, right? Oh, but it was. Every time there was a disagreement or a misunderstanding at the office, she called me. And my office manager had been instructed to not allow her to call me. If there's any issues, please connect with the office manager to, you know, submit your complaints, and then the office manager will relay any information to me. But as it stands, I am on maternity leave. No one should be calling me. No one should be bothering me. And I had 6 employees, so 5 out of the 6 of them knew, do not call Dr. Peterkin while she's out of the office. But this one insisted on texting me and calling and just grieving. And I consistently stated to the office manager, please communicate with this person and let her know that all concerns should go through you. This individual was adamant about not communicating with the office manager. She was jealous essentially of the office manager because of all the employees, most of my employees were African American or of some underrepresented minority group, person of color. And the office manager was a Caucasian woman. And she didn't like that she was Caucasian. And she didn't like that, you know, I trusted her more than anybody else. But that girl earned her stripes. She was with me since before I even became a practice owner. She could be second in command and she could be first in command while I'm out. Because she knows how I want things done. And so the issue came in because of jealousy. It came in because the hygienist felt like she should be the next one in charge because, you know, she's a hygienist. Not to mention that I did have an associate dentist there at the time, so there was no reason why she would even think that she would be next in line because I had a dentist there. Nevertheless, she persisted, and it got so bad to the point where she was showing up to work, not doing her job, clocking in, but leaving to go get Starbucks, or leaving while she's clocked in to go make a grocery run. And I got told several times, and so I advised that a write-up should take place and that appropriate reprimanding needs to take place so that we can make sure that all of this stuff is documented. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, do you guys want to let her go? And the consensus was, yes, she should go. So I consulted with my husband, and we made the decision to terminate this employee's position with my private practice. January 29th, I began contracting. That was when I thought I was going to have my baby. I was hoping not, because it was actually my mother-in-law's birthday. I started contracting. I was sure that I was going to have the baby that weekend. This was a Saturday that I started contracting. Saturday evening, I believe. I could communicate with my midwife and my doula to let them know. They told me to just time and see how everything goes before I make that judgment. So I moved forward with that. We started to get the timer out to measure the contractions, and they weren't really consistent. They were kind of all over the place, but I knew it was coming. I felt it. You know, you just know within yourself that this baby's coming within the next 72 hours. And so everybody was on standby. They knew I was in my birth window. I wasn't quite 38 weeks yet. I was 37 in several days. But nevertheless, on that Sunday, I believe the 30th, felt like my contractions were coming a little bit more consistently. And so it was like kind of like a 4-1-1, every 4 minutes, lasting for a minute, for 1 hour. And so I called, and then that early morning on that Sunday, the 30th of January, my team came to my home. And during that time, I received calls, emails, text messages from the employee I had let go, making, subliminal messages with, a threatening undertone. She went on to post about me online with a red X on my face, saying that I'm a fraud and, I'm fake, and I'm running a bad business, and as a Black woman, I shouldn't be trusted. Just a bunch of different things about me as a person, threatening my integrity, challenging who I am, and basically trying to ruin my reputation. So I had to get online while I'm in labor and refute these claims, because here I am being berated, my character being berated, my reputation, for somebody who only worked for me for 3 months, who got fired because they didn't do their job. It had nothing to do with me trying to play tricks on her or mistreat her or, count her out. It had everything to do with her character, her behavior, her lack of respect, and her lack for boundaries. But I won't go all into that. But the hurtful part of it was that I had many employees throughout the course of my practice, many who worked for me full-time, some worked part-time, some worked for, several years, some worked for 2 weeks. I had to let some go. Some of them had to resign. Some went on to bigger and better things, but not one, except her, not one ever could say that I did things to harm them intentionally. Not one could ever say that I tried to scam them or disrespect them. Not one could say that, including her. But here she was. Here she was.